Okay, what in the what happened? What happened? Listen. I basically did not see this coming because, of course, I'm just like every one of you. Did not see this coming. I was like, as you can see, I was like, look, I was basically coming off of dozing off from watching a great WWE Royal Rumble. Shout out to Jey Uso, yeet. Besides all that, so I was like, I'm not gonna. I was like, I'm on the tube, YouTube, and all I see is just I'm like looking for AD, and I was like, and I sort of like have like sort of like a little like still waking up a bit or whatever, watching some stuff, doing that doze in, doze out, and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, I was like, it was a Bill Simmons, Ryan Basillo. I was like, there was like their podcast, and I was like looking, and I was like, oh, they're doing one of their scenarios, trades, or whatever, and I was like, oh man, that's a crazy possibility. Maybe they're doing like what would it take to get this person or whatever. And then, it plays because that's what YouTube does. And as they're talking, I'm like, wait a minute. So then I go over to Bleacher Report. And it's on the first page. I'm like, oh my God. This is something that sounds like something you couldn't even pull off in 2K. That's what, like, even you can't even pull this off in 2K when you can override the trade. You get what I'm saying? You even click yes, and they're just like, we're not that stupid. And you're like, but I got the player control. This is so out of left field. And like I was hearing them talk about, like, basically we haven't seen a trade like this out of nowhere with no buzz for a top player ever in history. Now, I will say that the player is not on Luka's level, but the one that that reminds me of something like this, where it just came out of nowhere, and this might be even more out of nowhere because it sounds kind of like where no other teams and other people know about this at all. But the one that makes me remind me of is when Darren Williams got traded from the Utah Jazz to the Brooklyn Nets, or I was like, well, New Jersey Nets, I think at the time. It was both. I might have been at the time, but because I remember that came out of nowhere, where he was a top talent. He was like, I was like, it was him or Chris Paul for the top point guard, and you could make a case that he was the best point guard. I was like, so he was a top player in the league, out of nowhere, just getting traded for. But I couldn't remember at the time if, like, just because the fans didn't, the people who watched didn't notice, did not, I was like, know about it, doesn't mean that behind the scenes about it. But that's what it seemed like. It seemed like nobody knew that was going to happen. So I'll say that's the trade that I think that I felt like nobody did not really see coming. I know they also brought up like the Paul Gasol trade and stuff like that. But anyway, going back to this, makes no damn sense. Makes no sense at all. Not only what was traded for in general, but also just getting rid of Luka after say you gotta think that after this trade, that this is going to be the worst trade of the year, if not history. And think about where we was at of trades, that the trade that was going to seem like it was going to be one of the worst of the year was going to be the Cat trade with the Julius Randle trade. Because similarly enough, is that you basically did a trade for a team that basically was either in the championship match of that's the Mavericks, or that could have been in the championship match that's the Timberwolves. Do one trade, totally changed the whole team, and that's basically what this did. Whereas like the Julius Randle Cat Williams trade, Carl Anthony Towns trade is going to look like a blunder because you had a team that's like, oh man, maybe another year they could break through or whatever. Changed it to where it's like the same thing, where it's like, I was like, it's not. I was like, you don't know what's going to happen with these teams after this kind of trade. But also, Luka is on such a top tier that it's like this ain't the same thing of just like, oh, it's going to change the team, how the team got to react, how the team got to, because at least the Timberwolves still got Ant that you can still be like, all right, we're going to build around this guy. We at least got this guy. I was like, this not like this not get rid of like the second player. Like it'd be one thing if like the Lakers got rid of Anthony Davis for another player of his similar caliber. I was like, they got one better. But I'm just saying, like, if you got rid of somebody like your second player on your team, basically for somebody else, it'd be like, but we still got the main guy. We still got the main guy. They got rid of the main guy. And not just the main guy, but the main guy in the NBA. Because I was like, the other people that you would probably not trade him for would probably Giannis, Jokic, I want to say probably SGA. And I was like, from a team standpoint, I was like, there's a couple other ones like Wemby and that I think you also wouldn't. But you sort of get my point is that dude is up there in that upper echelon type of spot where it's just like that dude will carry some regular dudes to the playoffs, far and deep in the playoffs, because he has done it before. We've already seen it, and we've seen what happens when you give that dude actual players around him as well too. For him to be traded just doesn't make sense. You didn't even get like a haul for him. You didn't even get like some players that just I was like, I think Anthony Davis is, I was like, he could ball out where he could give you 30, he could give you 20 as well. But I don't know if he's also a person that can do it by himself, carry. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like him with some other people. Yeah, I was like, yeah, you could work with Anthony Davis. But I was like, Luka could just do it. He don't need all that. It's better to have some other people, but he don't need all that the way Anthony Davis gonna need some extras or whatever. It changes I was like, two teams basically changed overnight for years, because it's like I was like, Anthony, I was like, let's tackle the Mavericks thing. How this affects Dallas, where he's like Kyrie Irving on the older side of things, Klay Thompson on the older side of things. I was like, Anthony Davis, I was like, he's around the same age as Kyrie, but he's on the older side, especially when you get the wear and tear of his body and stuff like that. Also, them trying to figure out how to play or whatever. And also, over the long haul, you don't have a young star anymore to sort of build around. I was like, Lively's not going to be that type of dude to build around in that same type of way. So it's like, okay, how is that differently with that team now? Whereas like the Lakers that look like, oh man, what we're gonna like, we're gonna be in that middle pack of teams, and it's like we might be able to squeeze out a first round or whatever, but second round is nearly your ceiling or whatever. I was like, you'll look good for a minute here and there. I was like, we still gonna praise LeBron for being able to do what he does at an old age, but at any point he could just be like, all right, I'm done, tying up. Then what? Now we're just like, man, what are the Lakers going to do or whatever? Do we really want to go through with AD and Austin Reeves? You ain't got to worry about that. Now, you got Luka. You got Luka for however long he decided he wants to play or whatever. I was like, but he's 25. He haven't even got at the point that it needs to be even contemplated that he doesn't even want to play anymore. I was like, and it to me, it just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense from any type of way that you want to say. If you want to say like, oh man, we're paying the possibility of paying like $300 million for one type of player. It's like, look, man, all these dudes are making so much buku money that doesn't matter anymore. This ain't football where necessarily that one dude is really going to mess up the rest of the team in the same way. Whereas like kind of like basketball, it's like, yeah, if you give it to the wrong guy, it can, but when you give it to your main guy of your franchise that you can at least believe that is the main guy of your franchise, and on top of that, he's a top player in the NBA, and on top of that, he's always talked about or in the running or something like that in the MVP candidacy, then I'm like, then that's fine. You'll figure out how to do the money with the other things and stuff like that. Where it's like, with football, it's like, yeah, but you make two problems on like I'm like, you can sort of get away with the quarterback thing, but you make two spots on like some other spots on the team, you can mess up your team or whatever. I mean, you can also mess up your team with, if you get the quarterback wrong, but at the same time, it's like, if you got a pretty decent quarterback, you can sort of manipulate some things. Anyway, now to make that comparison. so that from that standpoint, it's like, okay, he'll be worth the money. Cool, he doesn't really play defense like that, but we've seen that he could carry a team. His offense is so potent that it makes up for his defense. Okay, so cool. It's like, is it the conditioning? Is it all that stuff? Because we've also seen how he played, where it's like, okay, he's not at the top level of conditioning. He's still able to ball out and do, and people still can't stop him. All right, this ain't the same thing of conditioning in the same way I feel like Zion is. I was like, don't get me wrong. I was like, yeah, they both could be in better shape, but I was like, Zion level of conditioning also leaves him off the court a lot of times where like you can see a lot of his issues is because of the weight, where like Luka stuff is like him actually getting hurt in a lot of situations. And even then, Luka really is coming up, showing up, trying the ball in a lot more ways. So I'm just like, with the Lakers now you got somebody that whenever LeBron decides to leave, I was like, you got somebody to fill in that spot right then and there. You don't even have to worry about it. You ain't got to worry about like, oh man, did we try to carry AD past the LeBron? Nope, you ain't got to worry about it now. I was like, you don't have to worry about it. To be honest, most of the people on the books now, I was like, you don't really have to worry about them that much. At this point, I was like, to me, the Lakers just try to basically just be like, yo, we about to revamp this whole thing. That's how I'm looking at it. Because I was like, at this point, I was like, you got Doncic, LeBron, and Reeves, three dudes who need the ball in their hands to be effective. Now, I was like, I think they'll all figure it out. I was like, I think you just have to break up their minutes or whatever like that. I was like, I'm not really about to get into maybe necessarily the play style. That might be just a different video. We're still just talking about the trade itself. The trade, it just doesn't make sense because Luka, I was like, Lakers get Luka, Maxi Kleber, and a Morris twin. I was like, which, I mean, hey, I was like, Kleber will give them good minutes at center until they find probably another center that they want to use. But I was like, but I think he works because he's a 3-point shooting big or whatever. I was like, he can also be pretty good on the perimeter, that you can switch really well. So I was like, you got a pretty decent center, and if they want to upgrade, they can still upgrade. I was like, they got Luka. Where all they had to send out on the other end, I was like, Anthony Davis, who I think is a real quality player, of course. And I was like, you're gonna have him, but at the 4 where he don't have to be banging up against big bodies anymore. I was like, you'll probably have to see what you do with Washington and Thompson and Kyrie Irving gonna be the backfield or whatever. But you have enough defense between Davis and Lively / Gafford to cover up for their deficiencies in that spot. But then you don't get nothing else. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, Max Kleber. I mean, not Kleber. Christie. Okay. Cool. I was like, a young player on the Mavericks. Cool. All right. I don't think that's significant enough to basically be like, oh man, we got him. Like, at least we got Austin Reeves. It has been like, all right, now we cooking a little bit of smoke except for, guess what? I'm gonna need a little bit more. By a little bit more, I mean like 2 more people, a couple more picks. Like that's just not enough for Luka. Cause I was like, I don't care what you say, Luka and the AD now on the same level where we're basically having a straight up trade. That's not what we're doing here. I like, to me, I was like, it makes me think that I'm like, Cuban really is not doing anything with his team anymore, because this does not seem something that Cuban would have done. The fact that he kept Dirk Nowitzki as long as he did, and they gave up Luka how they did, he not running the show. And I think this, to me, I think this is an ownership thing, because I was like, why would a general manager give up a top 3 player that keeps his job safe, and he has built this team to play around Luka for the last couple years? Why would he trade up? Why would you trade your best player? The only way I can think is especially after talking about like the amount of money he's going to make, his conditioning and stuff like that. That sounds like an ownership thing where it's like, hey, do we really want to be paying $300+ million for a guy that might not be able to be fit on the court? Also, maybe also a little bit like, oh, he got a little bit of a temper tantrum when he plays or whatever. Like, that sounds like stuff that you hear that the owners will be more concerned about, to me, than like general managers who have been with other NBA players or have played the game a little bit themselves or have been around some of these players when they've been young. So it's like, I was like, to me, that what makes this all weird. It makes it all sound a little like, ugh. It's also weird to me that's like, how the Lakers get this. Like, why were the Lakers the one that was on the table with it? How did nobody else hear about this? But the Lakers got wind up and enough. Did they just happen to just be like one of them things where it's just like, hey, Luka Doncic is available? And it's like, I don't know, maybe. Like what? Like it said. I think they're saying like the Mavs called them, but that's still weird. That's still weird. That is that. Like what? Like did y'all just over here just like close your eyes, do the little lottery thing, put your hand in there? It was like, oh, the Lakers. Let's call the Lakers. Like what made them? What made them the team? That's I was like, is it a team that you had to figure out that Anthony Davis will say like yes to? I don't even know. He don't even have no trade clause. He's got a trade kicker, so that don't even matter. LeBron didn't know about this, so I was like, what does it stop? I was like, you calling like the Heat for some, like to be like, oh, we'll give you Luka for Jimmy Butler. Contract about the same. Cool. We don't have to sign Jimmy Butler or whatever. Maybe we get off his books or something. I was like, I don't know. I was like, maybe they see Anthony Davis as a better player to keep than Jimmy Butler. All right, cool. I was like, I'm trying to think of like what other team like the Magic, like would you not try to get Paolo or whatever if you could? I was like, I know the money wouldn't necessarily match up because they make a different scale of money. I was like, I was like, Paolo got his. I know Wagner got his extension, but I was like, did Paolo get his extension? But you get what I'm saying? Like, what? Like, why the Lakers? Why was the Lakers the team? There was nobody else you could have switched and tried for, like you ain't trying to call to see if you could just get Giannis, like there. I was like. I was like, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not saying that, some of these other teams would be like, like training for Embiid. That's not the same case anymore. But I don't know. I was like, this is one of those that does not make sense. And I don't think it'll make sense no matter what you even say about it at this time and place of this type of trade. That is so left field. No other team knew about it. So, and except for one team that you went to, and it's not like you even fleeced them. I was like, I seen somebody say like the Lakers didn't rob Dallas. Dallas pretty much broke into your home and left you money. I was like, somebody else said that, not me, but I thought it summed it up perfectly. It rhymed. That's how you know it's good. I was like, I just don't understand how it's just like, yo, there was nothing you couldn't be like, yo, Phoenix, give me Devin Booker, Ryan Davis, and great. I was like, I was like, I don't know. Because I was like, if other teams knew about it, they would have tried. That's the crazy thing. I don't know. I know. I done said I don't know several times over here. Like I said it so many times that it might be a drinking game. Just nothing makes sense anymore. You know what? I was like, not only what does this mean for their respective teams of Dallas and the Lakers? Like like I said, do the Lakers blow it up? And just be, because I was like, I do think Luka, LeBron, and Reeves, Redick can figure something out, but I do think that they're all more primary. I was like dominant ball handlers. Like they need the ball in their hands in a way. To me, that's like, I don't know if you can have all of them. You get what I'm saying? Like Kyrie can at least play off the ball, and also Reeves can, but he's not the same type of dynamic scorer he is. So I was like, does he play a second unit? How did this change Dallas? Also, how does this affect everybody else's trade market? Think about it. Miami over here holding Jimmy Butler, and it's like, yeah, we're holding Butler because of the way he's acting or whatever. But it's really because you ain't really getting what you want for these trades. So when you see Luka go for something like that, what is your bargaining chip now? I'm like, anybody else that got traded or whatever, like De'Aaron Fox wants to get traded. Now that they'll be like, oh, if Luka went for that, why in the hell I'm giving up this for your ass? You ain't on them levels. I'm just saying. I'm like, I know you ain't got to like how Rudy Gobert like sort of messed up the trade scale for a while. That it was kind of like, okay, look, we can't follow that. That was ridiculous. The way that was too extreme, and maybe this is too extreme that way too. But I do think that it is sort of different because Rudy Gobert isn't the player that Luka is to justify the trade picks. It's like that was dumb for a all right player that only does this here for that amount of picks and stuff. Whereas this guy here is way better, and he only got this much here. There's going to be a little bit of middle ground that will, I think, affect other teams in all of this. Anyway, I know I haven't really done too much NBA type of stuff. I was like, I've been catching up on stuff, but but I gotta catch up on like stuff here and there. It's a little bit. It's hard to do basketball sometimes than a lot of the other sports. But we've been saying that when something big happens, because I've sort of been waiting to do like a Jimmy Butler video because I like my thoughts on that and stuff. And I've just been like, oh, I'm just gonna wait, whatever. Cool. Something like this happens. I was like, anyway. What do y'all think? Do y'all know what happened? What are y'all whole thoughts on the whole thing? Blah, blah. What is the effect for both teams? I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be another video after this of the same thing just because it's like, why not? We're going to get more stories. We're going to get more people's thoughts and opinions. I might change mine, might figure some other stuff out. Hell, I don't know. I just want to run a team at this point because I'm just like, damn, if that would it take to do trade, I was like, I could feel like I could make some type of squad real quickly if that's the case. Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Till then, peace. We'll see, I guess.